everyone. Today we got to play Detective Rummy. So this is a game. I don't understand why it's Rummy.
Well, I mean,
but it is a detective game.
You're making sets of cards like melds, just like Rummy. It's loosely based on Rummy.
Before we solve any crimes, though, don't forget to hit that subscribe button and the notification bell because board games are amazing, and that's what we do here at Legends of Nirvana. Now, Randy, can you tell us a little bit more about this game from Wiz Kids?
So it's a 2022 release. Board Game Geek has a rating of 6.3, but no rank on this yet. 2 to 4 players, 45 to 60 minutes in length, age 14 and up. Designed by Ralph H. Anderson and Mike Fitzgerald. There's no artist listed, though, which is kind of a shame because I kind of like the art, the pictures on it anyway. I'm not sure. Yeah, I guess some of them are artist renditions, but I think it's got a nice style to it. I wish they would have actually listed the artist. Published, as you mentioned, by Wiz Kids. This MSRP on this, a little pricey at $64.99. I mean, you do get some nice stuff in it, but it seems a little high. Card House has it listed for $49.99. Miniature Market, for whatever reason, has it at $58.99, a lot higher than Card House. Usually they're pretty much neck and neck. Game Nerds is actually the cheapest for $48.97. That's the cheapest I found. Although eBay, they have some people listing it at like $45, but I'm sure with shipping, it's probably comparable or higher than.
Well, yeah, it just depends if they offer free shipping or not. All right, so now let's talk about quality of components. So you do have the player boards, which I feel like is a nice, but there is no linen finish.
Yeah, it does. It has a finish.
Well, it feels nice anyway.
Yeah.
You do have your wooden tokens, so upgraded from cardboard, so that I like that quite a bit. And then you have cards. Now your cards don't have a linen finish, but they are good thickness.
Yeah,
you are going to have to shuffle them a lot.
And there's a lot of them.
Yeah, so I would not be surprised people would sleeve these because there's a bit of shuffling involved, especially with more players.
And you have custom dice that have the different icons from the game on them.
Overall, I think there's a couple of nice pieces going on here, but nothing like crazy. So I'm at a good 6.5, 7.
Yeah, that's probably where I am. I think 6.5 is fair. Yeah, I mean, the wood, it's nice that it's custom shaped, but it's basically just badges and teardrops or blood drops. And then, the cardboard, I think, is pretty good quality. They did have a packet of corrections stuff in the box, so I had to replace certain cards and put a sticker on one of the cards tiles that they misprinted, and a few things to get it set up correctly at the beginning. And then for whatever reason, they had these little tiny cheat sheets that they turned into big tarot-sized cheat sheets.
Well, tarot was the way to go.
Yeah, I like the tarot cards, although the tarot cards, for whatever reason, do not have the beginning of round on them. They have the turn sequence information in better detail, but they left out the beginning of the round information.
Oh, versus on the small card.
Mm-hmm.
Well,
Yeah.
I can't have everything. Now, let's move on to the actual theme. The theme is you're a detective, and you are going to go sleuth around to different locations and investigate different people to try to determine who is the guilty party. There's not actually a guilty party.
Well,
you kind of make a guilty party.
It's replayable that way, though. So, I mean, I like the way they did it. It's 7 cases, and if it were, there was one party that was guilty every time, then you would be blown through this game pretty quick and never have a need to play it again.
Right.
The fact is you determine who the guilty party is by where you place your tokens.
Sometimes.
Yes, or by getting lucky and having your tiles will be eliminated.
Or something of that variation. So I do think that there is some, I think they did make it replayable for that feature, but it definitely feels detective-y, going to different places, trying to collect different clues, trying to gain evidence to put on different suspects. You may get shot at. It's true. So I think they did well on the theme, and like you said, the art was really spot on for this. I think they did a good job there. So I'm probably going to give this a 7, 7.5 for theme.
I'm going to go 8 because I love the fact that they've integrated the old gumshoe detectives. I think the art style is amazing on the tiles. The characters are very diverse, and I love the color schemes and the art on them. And
they do have purple.
Well, yeah. They have, as far as the colors of the tiles, or the player boards, but they don't as far as the wood bits. The wood bits are the part that disappointed me the most because it's like white, gray, tan, and then pink. And then there's black, but that's got a special purpose in the game that we haven't discovered yet. So there's, basically very generic wooden bits as far as the color schemes, but except for pink, which is very vibrant compared to the others. But yeah, I think they've done a nice job with the iconography. I think the tiles look incredible. I think the art is really good, and I love the feel you get when you play this of the story.
Okay, cool. All right, so moving on to the rule book. What did you think of the rule book?
The rule book is 8 pages long, and it's got a slight cover. It's got the very beginnings and the introduction and then overview at the top bottom of the first page. It's got the nice pictures of the pieces as far as setup. And the thing is there's some of the rules that were kind of vague. It was hard to kind of figure out exactly what was happening until we actually started playing. So it wasn't as nice and clear of a rule book as I would like to see. And then, even with once you got it, there were some things that, weren't. I went online trying to find clarifications, couldn't find them online yet because it's a brand new game. There's a lot of Q&A and corrections online already. I just didn't feel like they fleshed out the game fully. They already, as I mentioned, had some errata that they had to recreate some of the tiles and recreate some of the cards because they misprinted them, but they gave you the replacements in the box to their credit. I think it does a decent job. It's not 100% clear. It is short. It gets you through quickly. I'll probably go ahead and give it a 7. I think it's decent. I just think there's a few little holes in the rules that made it a little more difficult to pick up on some of the nuances of the game.
Yeah. All right. So moving on to actual gameplay. So you'll start out the game with a hand of 10 cards. At that point, you can choose whether to discard 3 of those and draw 3 more cards. So it's really up to you. Now, some of the things that you'll notice in your hand is that there's 2 types of cards. So you have the fingerprint evidence. And then you have circumstantial evidence. So the circumstantial evidence has 2 different icons on here with different type of skills that you can gain if you use them, or that you'll need to activate or do. So just be aware of those icons as you're drafting. Now,
but those icons that's what really is the rummy of the game. You're collecting at least 3 of that suit, if you will, to play, and then if you get more, you can play more because there is a bonus for avoiding your hand, similar to rummy.
Right, and then there's also notice that each player though has a special skill that they start out with, and that is their base skill. So that's used in a couple different ways throughout the investigation, as well as if you play 3 of your base skill, it allows you some extra flexibility on certain actions. So just being aware of that. All right. So like I said, you can discard 3 and draw 3. In this particular instance, we won't because we'll just run with it. All right. And then we'll start the game. I only have 1 skill at the start, right? Which is my base skill. All right. And so I get to then decide whether to recuperate or detective work. Now, recuperate really is where you're trying to gain some traction if you don't. So it's really kind of a rest phase. So we're at the start of the game. We don't need that. We have
if you've taken any wounds, your skills will become wounded and you won't be able to use them. So that's where recuperate becomes handy.
Yeah, so we'll discuss that more. And then you have the detective work. So this is where most of your gameplay kind of lies, is in the detective work. So the first thing you're going to do is you're going to pick a location and you can visit there. Now, if I'm visiting a location, I do have to pay a card, and that's any card. That can be your fingerprint investigation as well as your circumstance thing. So I've got a couple of these fingerprint evidence that I'm not going to be able to fill anytime soon. So I'm just going to get rid of one of those. So, all right, I'm going to place that down and I'm going to visit this location. Now, this location should have a card.
Well, yeah, at the beginning of the game, there's story cards that you randomly shuffle, most scenarios anyway, and place them at the different locations or on the different suspects. And if the first person to encounter that will then draw one of those cards. You only get one per round, but you choose the card, and sometimes it's shareable, and sometimes you keep it private.
Right. So I would pick up the story card, and I would look at the very bottom to see if I share it or reveal it, or keep it secret. I would read that and take the action that is on there, or I can end up holding the card if it's secret until it makes sense to play it, or when it says to play it. So then I come here. Now this particular location allows me to basically gain a card. So I'm going to pick one of these cards because that sounds great. All right. So that is the location action. And then I get to perform actions listed on your cheat sheet here. It's heal a wound. I don't have any wounds. Like I said, it's the start of the game. Investigate circumstantial evidence. So when I go to investigate, I'm going to look and try to find 3 of one kind. All right, so I'm going to be able to do that. All right, so I have 3 that have the fist symbol, which is the grit symbol. All right, so I'm going to be able to place that on my skills now. I now have that skill. And then I'm going to place my token on the suspect that has the grit symbol. Okay, so that's placed there. Now, as you continue to play, you're going to end up placing different evidence on different people. And one of the key factors is whoever has the most at the end is the guilty party, unless they're cards that were played that can affect that guilty verdict. Okay, so just keep that in mind. So this is a little bit of an area control game because you get scoring for different kinds of things. Now, Randy, do you want to take your turn?
Sure. So.
Oh, I forgot. Now I place an investigation evidence, so you can do that as well. All right, so I'm going to play that. So this discard 1 detective token to a suspect who has a skill that matches yours. Okay, so I only have 2 skills right now, but I'm going to place it on Big Louie. He seems super suspicious. And then I can use a ready item that I don't currently have, and then I'm going to reassess. So I may discard cards that match my base trait if I want to, because there is a bonus from emptying out your hand. But I don't want to do that. And then I'm going to draw 2 cards. Okay, Randy, you're up.
So my base trait is that I have the Valor, and it's basically the badge icon. So I'm going to, I don't have cards, unfortunately, that match that, or at least not enough. Well, I guess I do, but yeah, I do. So let me go ahead and I'm going to play 3 Valor cards. And when I do that, since I already have the Valor token, I don't have to gain it. But what it does let me do is choose any of the other skills, and I get to place one of them of my choice. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to play the type one, which is deduction. And then I also take one of my tokens and I put it on the one that has the matching icon on the board. So Big Louie is looking really suspect right now. Then, after that, I've got a hearsay evidence, which is a fingerprint card, which matches the pipe. So I get to add a detective token to a suspect who has a skill that matches one of my skills. So I'm going to make Paisley St. Clair over here look a little suspect by adding some incriminating evidence on her.
Okay. All right.
And then at the end of my turn, I can reassess. So I could discard any ones that I have that match my icons to try to avoid my hand, but I don't have enough, so I'm going to go ahead and keep them.
All right. So you're going to continue to play this. Again, we're not reading out the story cards or doing any of that because we really kind of want to save that for you. We don't want to spoil that. We don't want to spoil that for you. But as you go through, the story ends up developing. And so you end up having 6 rounds to play the game. And let's talk a little bit about danger. So at some point, there will be something that triggers danger. So that's part of the story. And every time that the danger level increases, the number of dice is rolled. Okay. And then that gets wounded. So in this case, it would be the handcuffs. Now, I don't have that, so mine's not wounded. so we don't get wounded. But for an example, what if it was the
Don't look at mine. Look at yours.
Well, it's going to be the pipe, right?
Of course, yes. So I would have to flip it over, and now I cannot use that icon unless I recuperate it or heal it. Now, you can recuperate the heal, or if you play cards that match your base skill, you automatically can heal one of your skills. Mm-hmm. So there's ways to do it without wasting your turn on the recuperate action.
But with the recuperate, you do get to draw 4 cards, and sometimes when you only have 2 cards, you can't really do much. So,
and you get to heal all your skills, and you get the bulletproof vest for the round, which will protect you from any further damage.
Right. And like I said, so each danger level, so it can end up be at some point that you end up rolling 3 of these dice, and then end up losing some.
And you can actually get, based on the story cards, develop like enemies amongst the suspects, and if you do that and the levels up, anytime you play evidence on them, you have to roll the dice as well, so you put yourself at risk of getting more damage.
Correct. So that's overall the game, without giving too much away. So overall, I thought it was a fun detective game. I really enjoyed it. I thought it was fun. I don't understand what Rummy has anything to do with it, except for trying to match them, but that's fine. Whatever. I can get over it. I still had a lot of fun investigating. I think the story cards were, there were a lot of twists and turns. Randy did not agree with some of these twists and turns, but I sure enjoyed them. Yeah, so overall, I really, really liked it. Would I play this again? Absolutely. Will I remember it? I don't know. I think about other detective games. I mean, it's definitely better than some.
Yeah. Well, I think it suffers from having a really nondescript box. That was one of the interesting choices. It's very bland. I mean, this looks very generic.
But it looks very detective-y.
Yes. It's just, it doesn't strike you. If this were on the shelf at the game store, you're probably going to walk right past it. I mean, yes, it's got the big letters on there, but that's about it. You aren't going to notice much more about it.
Well, honestly, I think this would, if I picked this up, I would think it'd be more, I don't know, I thought to see face cards. That's not what I saw. I did not see a deck of cards, but in the sense of what.
Well, I mean, I have a whole lot of a series of mystery rummy sets, and they're like Mers and the Rue Morgue and Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde, and I really enjoyed those card games. So that's why I picked this up, because I knew you like rummy. I love detective games, so between it, I thought it would be a good fit for us. I don't like this as well as the Mystery Rummy series, the ones that I've played so far. I think we played Wyatt Earp as part of our Western series, and that's part of the Mystery Rummy series too. And I think there's more to that than there is to this. But I do like the story of the unfolding. But I think once you've played through it once, at that point it just becomes, playing your cards to, take the... basically it's the same game. It's just different suspects. So you're really just playing it for the scoring.
Yeah, and I do think it would play better at more people. Having that little bit of tension.
It plays 4, so yeah, I mean, they give you 6-player boards, but it's really 4-player. There's 2 ways to play the game. You've got the campaign mode, which is what it recommends you play through the first time, and that's what we're doing. And then there's the case mode, where you basically play a set number of rounds, typically 3, and you just play one case 3 times, and whoever has a high score wins. So I think it's better, or actually I guess you can play different cases, but you play three rounds and the game's over. So I think it's probably better as a campaign, but it really is your personal preference. So as far as your score, what were you thinking?
I'm probably going to give this a 7 to 7.5. I'm not really sure. I'm very indecisive today.
Yes.
I'm giving ranges
it from
today.
7. I'm going with a 7. I think it's fine. I think it's a fun rummy game. I don't think it's, I think, like I said, I think the Mystery Rummy series did it better. But as far as the inclusion in the story, I think that's where it shines. But I just don't think there's going to be a lot of repetitive or replay in that portion of it.
Yeah, I mean, unless they might end up doing little packs of different cases, which I think would be great.
Yeah, that would be great.
But I do have that concern, once the story has been revealed, then what? And they did it to where you could play it again, maybe with different people. But again, I agree with you. I think it would lose some of that.
Yeah, I mean, to me, that's where it shines, and it's then after that it becomes just the generic rummy portion of the game with the cards knowing that they're out there. You don't know which ones you're going to get, but it's not going to have the same that feel, and it doesn't have the same gameplay value to me as the Mystery Rummy series did.
Okay. All right, guys. Well, thank you so much for joining us. We had an absolute blast today, and hopefully you'll come hang out with us again. We'll catch you guys later.
Bye.